we have to be sensitive to make sure we're not just kind of selecting which sins to talk about. Because see, even as a church, we talk a lot about homosexual sin and this, that, but are we talking a lot about the sin of contraceptives? Are we talking about, that I remember I got on a call with a young woman, just amazing young girl. She considers herself, a believer in Jesus, and she doesn't call herself Christian because she said they're two-faced. They say one thing and they're living another. And I said, well, what's going on? She said, well, I'm gay. And I said, okay, so let's talk. And we kept talking, and she said, why do you have a problem with homosexuality? Why do you think it's a sin? I said, because we're not open. Even if I'm open to life to happen, it can't happen because it's out of God's order. So yes, I might be open to life naturally with my partner who's a female, but God would have to go against his own design. He did that once, and that was to bring the Savior of the world, right? He's not going to do it again through me. And so in that, God's not going to go against his own design to bring life, even if I'm open and she's open. And so what
if they say, well, you can use technology?
Well, that's not natural. Now we're not, and that's where
it's out
I
of
said,
design either way.
Let's just stay within design. And I said, but you need to hear me loud and clear. I have just as much of a problem with a male and female who are married in the church and are not open to life.
Right, because it's the same thing. It's rendering the sexual act sterile.
Right.
And so whether that's between two women who have a sterile sexual act, period, because it's not open to life, it can't bring life, or people that are intentionally doing it. Now, somebody might play devil's advocate and say, well, what about a couple that has infertility?
Okay. Now, there's certain things that you can't. Are you still open to life? Did you make yourself infertile? Right? Now, some could say, well, I used to be on, birth controls and things, and now it's affected my body. Well, if you're asking the Lord and you're doing what you can to heal, and for the Lord to heal you, then it's in his hands, right? But that's not God going out of his own natural order and design. Two females in history naturally have never had a baby. Two males, natural born males, have never had a baby without humans getting involved, right? And so we've got to kind of trail back. But I will say this young woman, I love her so much, but she said, thank you. I said, what? She said, I've never met a Christian that has stood ground across the board. She said, usually they're really willing to stand on homosexuality, but they won't touch it when it comes to their own stuff.
Wow.
And I was like, girl, I'm sorry, but...
Or I've seen it and some, I would say kind of in the faith-based world, it's a kind of Protestant evangelical space, there is some... red pill is a strong word, but there's this sort of ideology about sex where anything goes in marriage. As long as you're married, you can do whatever you want.
Oh, yeah.
And then usually it's very much male-centric in terms of woman, just please your husband, period. And whatever you want, whatever he wants, you do. And that's also not the Christian vision. That's not the natural order even, because
that's not the love of the church.
That's not the love of the church, because there's a design for chastity, and chastity at its core is self-gift and seeing the other person as a gift and being willing to lay down your life for that other person. And that's including in sex. Like you want to be focused on the other person, not just your own pleasure.
What you need or
if
desire.
It's all about you and your own pleasure, you're objectifying your own spouse.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, I think that can infiltrate even Christian marriages if you're objectifying your own spouse instead of seeing them as a whole person that you want to love and serve.
Yeah. And I think where we're hurting a big group of people are those who do struggle or embrace homosexuality, that we're talking all about the sins within their sexual struggles, but not within heterosexual struggles. And it's just wrong. It's wrong in God's eyes too. I mean, we look through Romans, he goes through a whole list of sexual sins, of drunkardness, of gossip, right? Like all these things, but yet we're like, oh, well, yeah, those are normalized. Well, guess what? The world's trying to normalize every other sin too. We're not going from the standard of the world, right? We have to get back. And one thing I did bring up with her, and it wasn't to win a point, it was to express God's heart. I said, what's sex for? What is the purpose of sex? We have to get back to that. It is to reproduce. It's to be fruitful and multiply. And because God is so good, he's like, and I'm going to make it pleasurable, right?
And that's bonding for the people that are the parents of this new life, potentially.
But it wasn't just for bonding, right? It wasn't just for bonding. There's a both and. And so when we remove the openness to life, we've actually changed the equation that God put out for us. I mean, and you're talking about this all around every day.
No, but I like to hear you talking about it.
Yeah. But I mean, no, like
You're doing great.
We're now seeing children as a consequence.
Yeah.
No, that was the whole purpose. It was to be fruitful and multiply and connect.
That's why
with
the
your
language
spouse.
of unexpected pregnancy, unplanned pregnancy, accidentally got pregnant. It's like it worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a beautiful, and we imagine a society where when a child is conceived, there's celebration across the board. Yeah. Maybe some stress because it's, it's multiple other kids, and, pregnancy it's not always easy, obviously. And this is a big responsibility and a sacred one. But we know that life is about the most meaningful things, which is relationship and love. And so we celebrate a new life instead of looking down on a new life.
And look at how that would hit identity. When you as a little one are celebrated from the womb, out of the womb, growing up, man, do you start to feel loved and seen and known? Yeah. Even though life is hard, even though life had to change, but like now that little human is celebrated from the womb on, their identity is even being affirmed even inside the womb.
That's why, and I've had girls reach out to me over the years saying, oh, I'm pregnant. What do I do? What do you think? DMs on Instagram or meeting girls. And I always make sure the first thing is congratulations. Yeah. Even though I know if they're in a place of stress and fear, because then the next thing is like, I know you may be struggling right now. Like I want to help you and support you, but we never should lose sight of this is a gift. Right. This is a gift, and God has a plan for you.
Yes. And for that little one.
Only
He brings life.
Yes.
And I think when we lose sight of that, we're going to lose sight of sexuality. Because right now, if baby isn't the gift, then sex, now what's sex, right? So it just starts to pull the thread of what God has designed. And so I think some people are like, Kim, that doesn't correlate. No, it does. It does, because sex is not just for pleasure. Sex is not just for connecting. It is for procreation when God brings it. Your job is just to be open to it. So.
And marriage is also not just for pleasure.
No.
And it's also not just for connecting. It's for a project of we're going to grow together and serve God and others and get to heaven. And hopefully if it's His will, bring other souls along with us.
Yep.
It's always about more than just me and my immediate feelings and my pleasure and my immediate desires.
But our world is not so others focused, right? Myself included. Right? So, I mean, but so I think this is a big picture issue.
This is what we're working on.
Yep.
Okay. So thank you. That was beautifully shared. And so Boldly Beloved, we're going to link it. Is there a website?
Boldly Beloved.
I'm so excited about it. It's so needed. Your voice is so needed, Kim. I love you and I love what you're doing.